Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
When the lights go down and the sun comes up, break my bones and I still stand
We are at episode 11. I can't believe it already. Only 2 episodes left. I'm Suri Serano, and joining me across the table are my co-hosts, Jay-Tan.
Kill that music! We're talking now, damn it!
It was really loud. That
Let's go.
Wow, your drums.
I am a warrior!
God, he's been doing this all day.
Amazing.
Boy.
Love it.
Stop.
And next
I'm
to
going to
you,
cover this. This is going to be an episode of American Idol next season. So I'm going to cover the
don't do
Ultimate
it.
Fighter theme song.
Don't do it.
No?
Don't do it.
All right.
Miss Alexis Torres. Say
Hi,
hello.
guys. Hello. How are you?
Looking fine today. Your hair is a little purple.
It is a little purple. I have 3 different shades of purple in my hair.
I
Love
like
it.
that purple.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
We are excited because American Top Team's Michael Graves will be joining us here in a few minutes. So we get to discuss his fight with Jason Jackson this week. What a fight.
And his talk with Jason Jackson afterwards,
yes,
right?
on Tough Talk on Fox. Yeah, we will be discussing that as well. That was pretty heated.
That was like the 4th and 5th rounds of the match.
I love when Karen. It really was. I love when Karen Bryant just sits back and just lets them at it. You know, of course that's what she's supposed to do, but it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
Entertaining. I love this episode. There was so much going on. I felt like out of all the episodes we've watched, there was more action. So
Yeah, there was more meat to this episode.
If nothing, the more meat.
What?
It's true.
Pun unintended.
Yeah,
Like, no,
there's a
like,
lot of meat in there.
For real. I was
If
like,
nothing
wow.
else, this is the episode where we finally had, traditionally it's called the Coach's Challenge. This was the
Oh, my
Owner's
word.
Challenge.
Can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to get there. First, though, we ATT picks Michael to go against Jason Jackson, Black Zillions. What did you think of that matchup, Jay?
It was
Before the fight.
exciting. Yeah.
Before the fight, like, were you?
A little bit surprised. I'm a little bit surprised. I think it's been 2 or 3 weeks since there was the new rule about being allowed to bring in 2 fighters per
Right.
team, and we've seen absolutely nothing of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that's going to go. I presume then that we'll see them fight next week. That's my guess. But
Right. Maybe.
because why else do you not? You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
Maybe they
I thought
aren't
were
up
just
to par.
fillers. I thought they were just fillers. to
Well,
be
yeah,
honest.
sure, but everybody else has had a chance to fight, so why not them? But
That's a question for the coaches that we
yeah,
have to ask.
yeah. But to that end, I mean, Michael was a bit. Graves as a selection is kind of surprising because this whole time, one of the only storylines throughout the entire season has been, well, Graves is drinking, Graves is drinking,
Right.
he's not training, Graves is drinking. Okay,
Right.
then that's that.
Yep, how they portrayed him.
Yeah, and now like this is probably one of the most pivotal matches of the entire season.
Absolutely.
And so to give it to him, that says that they knew something we don't know, which is no surprise. But
Right.
then again, we're watching an hour a week. So.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Not even. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
well, moving into my favorite part of the whole episode, the coaches challenge.
Oh yeah.
Going over to the track, and it's a relay race. Glenn versus Dan. I was screaming out loud because it was so much fun to watch
Yeah.
these guys run. But what do you think? Because obviously, Jason on Tough Talk was, accusing them of basically cheating because they brought in a strength and conditioning coach they hadn't seen all season.
And I don't
to help them.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
it. I think they're just sore losers.
Actually, I did look him up in my notes. Brian Harris, I think was his name. Let me see. So it was a relay. I wrote down, ATT, a relay around the track.
Yeah.
And each team had 4 guys.
Yep.
Coincidentally, 2 were fighters and 2 were coaches. And, 1 was coach. And then the last leg was the owner himself
Right.
or themselves. ATT had Brian Harris, who Jason Jackson was kind of pointing out as possibly a ringer.
Right.
Sabah Hamasi, Cristiano Sodaldo, one of the replacement guys that we haven't seen fight, and then Dan Lambert was running the last leg. Black Zillions had Carrington Banks, Greg Jones, their, I believe, strength and conditioning, or maybe they were a striking coach, I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
But one of their coaches also,
Yeah.
Jason Jackson, and then Glenn Robinson.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by Black Zillion's choices.
Yeah?
And who they. Yes, I thought, come on, they've got to have some better sprinters on their team.
Well,
No?
Jason,
Well,
I was a bit surprised. Go
Jason
ahead.
was fast.
no, Jason. I had a feeling that Jason was probably going to be the fastest out of all three of the people that they picked, but at the same
And he
time, I
was.
was like, no offense to Glenn, I was like, you're not going to win.
That's the thing. I mean, look, that's the elephant in the room, is that we finally have a physical showdown.
Right.
Again, pun intended.
No, very
Sorry.
pun intended.
Right.
Super pun intended.
But you've got Dan Lambert versus Glenn Robinson. There is, at least physically, visually,
There's a height difference.
Huge height
there's
difference.
a height difference. There visually seems to be a physical a physical fitness difference there.
Sure. But they're both older, so they have that
But
in
it was
common.
like it was like putting a German Shepherd and a wiener dog next to each other and go, go. Again, Glenn, I think you're really awesome.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying.
I don't know if I would call Dan Lambert a German Shepherd, but
You know
I
what
get the
I was thinking
point.
a tall dog. Maybe like a giant, like
maybe
lab.
a Great Dane.
Yeah, like
They're
a Great
little slower.
Dane. Yeah, a Great Dane next to. Oh, I was going to say something else and I retracted it. But yeah, wiener dog. And it was rough to watch. I was like, I'm sorry.
Okay, but if you're the producers of The Ultimate Fighter, you have to come up with some kind of physical challenge
True.
that they stand a chance. One of them stands a chance. I mean, that's why I thought they did the relay thing to give,
Yeah.
you know what I mean,
See,
a fighting chance for both guys to win.
In my brain, I didn't want them to do a race. I wanted them to do one of those. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them at like birthday parties and stuff like that, where they have those inflatable rings and they have those giant, like American Gladiator.
I love that.
I would have rather seen
Like
that.
the jousting?
Yeah,
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
I want to do that, by the way. How much fun would that
It's
be?
awesome.
Those are fun.
Those
That
are
would be a
awesome.
cool
But
challenge.
I would have rather seen that because I know that we can't physically put them in an actual ring and let them duke them out because I feel like someone's actually going to get hurt.
Right.
But racing is also just something I always thought that was really random to me.
It is. I think they were trying to protect honestly, I think they were trying to protect Glenn from looking too bad. Because, and I want to be fair. Now, we've heard.
I'm just going to be here sipping my tea.
We've heard Black Zillion fighters in the past talking about how Glenn can really throw hands. Maybe he's got some knockout power, you know?
I can see that.
You can't necessarily judge a book by its cover most of the time. But when it comes to physical stuff and that, this is when that gray area becomes a little bit whiter.
Yeah.
Or more black and white. I'm thinking, though, a couple seasons ago. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, why didn't they do something like where they had Chael Sonnen and I forgot the other
John
coach,
Jones.
John Jones, doing,
I was just going to bring that up. Same point. Yeah.
The tractors.
They had, there was a construction site.
yes.
Yeah, and there
I
was
didn't think about that.
issues of accuracy. What do they have to use?
Yeah,
Like a
lift tires or
Yeah,
like the
it
claw
was-
thing.
What the hell is that thing? Joe Boza, get in the chat room. Tell me what
yes.
tell me what the lifting thing is with my hand here.
Oh my word.
That's
The
a
claw.
big construction.
It's like
the
a big
claw.
claw. The claw. Wow,
claw.
we're having a hard time talk right now.
You guys pretty much look like little like T-Rex raptor.
Exactly. Yes.
No, they could have done something like that.
Ultimate Fighter
Different,
construction
but-
T-Rex. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Something
so
like that.
weird.
Or you had a good idea about
I've seen, because I worked at a company where we had our executive producer and our CEO come in and they were usually fighting all the time that we had them bring in one of those inflatable joust thingies.
Ooh. Or like a triathlon, no, decagon? Not decagon. The one where you run and then you grab a bow and arrow. Bow and
Yeah.
arrow. Archery would have been a good one.
Yeah.
That's stationary. Then that's just about accuracy.
That's true.
Right.
I know there's some producer fail. Sorry.
No, actually, it was kind of a producer success.
But it
there,
was funny.
'cause that
It was
hilarious.
fun to watch those guys run.
Yeah.
It was, but at the same time I was like, oh.
I know.
Let's put it
Good
like this.
TV, I suppose.
I'm glad we're interviewing an ATT guy today. Not a black
Yes.
man.
Thank
Speaking
you.
of ATT guys, I just want to check with our producer behind the magic window. Do we have Michael Graves on the line? Or nope, I don't think so. Not yet. Okay, cool. Stay tuned. Moving on really quick, the kitchen drama between Kamaru
was-
Usman and Sabah Homasi.
That was crazy.
Yeah, what do you guys? I have opinions about this, but you tell me first what your thoughts are on Kamaru and Sabah.
It's really tough for me because I'm usually used to seeing Usman he usually has a cool head about him.
Right.
So I found it weird that when he was talking to JJ about it, about all the talk about him grabbing the cage and blah 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 blah, that he just kind of.
Or Carrington Banks?
Was it
Carrington Banks? Before?
Wait, what?
Was it the scene before the kitchen scene? You mean?
Yeah, when they were
Carrington Banks.
Was it Carrington Banks?
They were sitting there talking.
Well, they were talking about it, and then all of a sudden, I know that he's team captain and whatnot, and he just went in there and just kind of decided to just talk about it. For some reason, I just wasn't used to that. I was thinking that someone else was going to start the drama, but in my brain, I didn't put that two together because he's so level-headed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they so the scene itself essentially is, as you were saying, Kamaru challenged Sabah about talking shit about him, saying that he grabbed the cage.
Right. Yeah.
In I forgot which match it was exactly. It was the more recent one.
Yeah. It was a while ago.
There were two instances that they cut to saying that where to kind of flash back and see did Kamaru actually hold the fence or not. And I remember in the second shot, his fist, his glove, was up against the cage, but the camera did zoom in. Remember?
Yeah.
He was grabbing the cage.
It looked like he was grabbing the cage.
Yeah, but I don't think it made necessarily that much of a difference. And we have a similar situation in this match this week as well.
So you think Kamaru was just trying to?
I think it was fabricated. I think the whole thing was a work of producers saying, we need something else, and let's trigger this.
Right.
You guys go at it, and I'm sure it's based in probable truth and legitimate emotion.
Right.
And it was a nice moment to kind of boost things up and keep the episode chunky.
Yeah, because gosh, that's such a weird word. But I understood it though, because I felt like it didn't seem completely out of place. I just wasn't expecting them to blow up like that. You know what I mean? I felt like it was definitely needed because we talked about the drama where they're usually pretty separated. But I like that Graves brought up that he was. That's what I want. If we ever get to talk to him today, that if that happens. But
we're trying to reach him.
No, it's totally fine. But the one thing the thought that was coming across my brain was the fact of just what do you do in that situation where you're in a confined space, which is just the kitchen, and then it's just blowing up right then and there. You know what I mean? They're
at the tail end of this whole process, so of course fuses could be shorter as well. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
I don't know. Obviously he was not happy with Sabah talking crap about him, and
nobody's
better than not confronting. I think sometimes if you're calm about it.
I completely agree with you.
This is a house full of MMA fighters. We're not going for calm and a reality show.
I know.
Calm doesn't work on this one.
It's such a there's 20 guys in front of that were ATT guys watching. How did 20 guys miscall something, or is it just because they're a team and they're sticking together and they want to say
and it was the bad thing is when you're watching a fight and you're that close, not as close as maybe where the refs were or the judges, but where you're standing, if you see a glove go up on the fence, your brain doesn't go, oh, he's probably just resting there,
You automatically think,
he's grabbing the cage. Stop it, that kind of thing. So it's tough.
And the funny thing is this, in the rules, you're not supposed to grab the cage, but the difference between holding on to it and grabbing the cage itself is so minute that in the heat of a fight, it's really hard to call it, because your fingers are not supposed to go through the cage.
Yes.
That's the thing.
That's the big thing.
That defines grabbing the cage. So you can hold up there, but because there's so many holes, it's very easy for your fingers to go through.
Sure. And you're sweating, so you just kind of slip. It happens.
It happens. Exactly. So I think a big part of it, once that happens, if it egregiously affects the match or the fighter in a bad position, a disadvantageous position, then the referee has the grounds and the obligation to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something we saw later in the match between the two guys.
Does this change your opinion about Kamaru being?
A little bit. Like I'm never gonna look at him in a negative light, but I was very surprised. It caught me by surprise, sitting there going, "Oh, that's weird. You're usually the guy who's kind of mediating everything and trying to calm your fellow Blackzilians down." But the fact that he just up and just was like, "I heard you talking," and I was like, "Really? You're the one to start that?"
He's a fighter.
No.
He's got a career.
Again,
Jay, I love it.
I don't hate him for it. It literally caught me by surprise that he was the one that started it. But I mean, I get it. You're the big brother. You gotta defend your own.
But maybe he didn't. You mean instigate the conversation? Because maybe you're sitting around for days listening to this over and over, hearing it over and over again. I would want to be like, okay,
yeah,
we need to shut it
down. I totally get it. It just caught me by surprise. Is all. Yeah. That's all.
Well, that should be interesting. Awesome. I did hear a little bit under the radar that Sabah has a short fuse.
Oh,
well, I mean, yeah, most fighters.
That doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise you. I love Jay. You crack me up.
Something about it is just don't set off any of these guys. I mean, if an MMA fighter is just generally speaking, is usually pretty. The stronger and tougher they are, the shorter their wick is.
Yeah, so
it can be very easy to set those guys off. And
if you find a fighter who actually has like a very long fuse and it doesn't take a lot for them to get upset, like that's
they're probably not a very good fighter.
Yeah, which is that's probably why my mom doesn't want me to fight anymore, because I don't just lose my temper. Like that's just not a thing I do. And my dad gets mad. He's like, get angry, and I'm like, oh, okay. So
well, there are some fighters that do struggle with that, being too nice and not finding that killer instinct, right? Well, we're still working to get Michael Graves on the line. I'm not sure what's going on there, but before we head into the fight, he gets injured in this episode.
That sounded like Michael.
I know, right? His neck, which I can relate to, nerve damage and, not being able to move it. I don't know how you fight with that because I could barely dance or do anything when my neck acts up like that. I don't know if you guys have had any injuries like that. I can barely dance or do
anything when my neck feels fine.
I knew that was going to come up. I was like, he better not say that he's totally...
Because you know that's the truth.
I know. But, I mean, I that's one thing that I always struggle with. I mean, for him, I don't know if this is like a normal occurrence for him, but he did say in the show that he had the same exact pain and injury when he was 17 when he was wrestling, correct?
Yeah.
So I totally understand how it feels to fight and then know that you have an injury that probably will never go away at all. So I want to know, because I know that when I tore my ACL during a fight, like it still messes me up. Like I don't feel as confident as I was because I don't know if I'm like, oh, if I kick too hard, will I re-tear it, this and this and this. But with him, it's more like he actually it didn't prevent him from overthinking about it, which I thought was really smart. He's a smart fighter for not thinking about that.
I thought it was going to be a swerve.
Did you?
In who they fight. And then, of course, Glenn would have had possibly more justification and grounds in pitching a fit.
Yeah.
That was injured on a takedown in training, and was it before weigh-ins?
Before weigh-ins.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you would have, you'd still be able to pull out according to the rules, but stuff like that, the injuries, especially, Graves had his back up against the wall. I think this was clearly, by storyline, it was poised to be a match for him to kind of have a comeback and make good on several weeks of bad training and a performance that didn't go his way. And so, in that respect, within the universe of this reality show, there was a lot on the line for him personally, as well as certainly the team itself.
Well, like Dana said, it was a risky move to choose him. You think it was somewhat risky, right?
Yeah. I wasn't like super surprised that they were all very confident in him, but after he got injured, you could just see it on their faces. They're like, we're confident in him, but we're also really scared that this might be a problem and we might regret it at one point. But I know they didn't say that, but you can just read it on their face while they were sitting there waiting for...
I'm really curious to hear why specifically they did decide to go with him, as opposed to a guy that hasn't fought yet on the show, and is fresher.
Do you think though it was because when you're coming down to the 9th or the 10th, 11th, 12th episode, you have to have guys fight a couple times to be eligible for the finale, like the final fight?
Oh, that's a good point.
So if they bring in a new guy at week 10,
okay, you know what? Now that makes
The guys
sense.
are supposed to fight
and
twice.
Michael's only fought once, you know what I mean? And they have to fight. The rules state they have to fight twice within the season to be eligible for the finale fight.
Check me out here. Who has fought twice? Let's talk about it.
He has. If you guys could see his notes, he literally has from week
are the
1 to
note
week now.
master,
everything.
Unfortunately, my handwriting is a little bit
Here.
It's
less
like a doctor.
organized.
I can
It's like a doctor.
Less organized than
can read it.
hieroglyphics.
I can read
I
it.
think that's why they didn't go with
That's a very
one of the
good
new
point.
guys.
Yeah,
Are
because
you looking for who hasn't
Well, no,
fought twice, or who has?
Yeah, we'll talk about who has. The underlines are the ones that have fought twice. On the Black Zillions, Kamaru, Buscape did not or did?
No,
Buscape-
he
I
did
don't think
not.
so.
There's no line.
Buscape, Valdir Arajo.
Yeah, there's an underline there, so there's that.
Jason Jackson, so that's 3.
Yeah.
And then I thought there was another guy as well. Who was
That's you.
it? BB Monster?
BB Monster has fought twice.
Oh yeah, that's the same guy. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's 3 guys right there. With ATT, you've got Graves, Coy, Hader,
Steve
right?
Carl has fought twice.
Steve Carl fought twice, and Hyder, right?
And Hyder has fought twice.
So that's 4. So that's 3
They've
to
used
4.
pretty much the same people. Mm-hmm. Technically, to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 to 4. Though ATT had more guys anyway, but
They did.
For whatever reason, they decided to go with him. Again, I'm
If it ain't
very
broke,
curious.
I guess don't fix it.
It was broke the first time.
Yeah, but I feel. I mean,
Kamaru
maybe.
broke him.
Yeah, except I'm not talking about just Graves. I meant like with their train of thought of thinking of fighters. They're probably not. Oh, I'm not going to use someone who hasn't fought yet. Like I'm going to pick someone who has fought. And even though Graves did lose, they kept saying that they were very confident that he has learned from his mistakes and that this is a good time for him to fight.
Right.
Yeah, must have been.
Speaking of Graves, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties getting him on the line, so we're just going to head into round 1
Yes,
of
please.
this round 1 of
You
this
mean
fight.
the only round that we had?
Well, certainly a lot of the round to talk about.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Yes.
I know before the show, you guys were on fire discussing this fight. So,
If you could read my notes, it just says holy blood. Holy blood.
holy bloodbath. I know. I kind of knew ahead of time who was going to win based on
Yeah,
kind
me
of
too.
everything, and I was a little shocked the first,
Yep.
minute and whatever
Yep.
change. I was like, oh, this is awful. She's getting beaten. Just like I was like, oh, I can't watch.
Those are tough situations.
Yeah.
So Graves
ahead.
was engaging more, but
I was so proud of him in the beginning. I was like, look at you. You look confident. You have your fists up. I'm ready to watch this. Oh gosh. No, get back up on your feet.
Yeah.
Don't. Oh,
there
you're
was an
crawling.
exchange of kicks.
He did.
What's that?
He was crawling at one point where he was trying to, because after the groin kick, he was like,
crawling
oh God, I got to
back
cover
to the cage.
myself.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Back
The
up
exchange
to the
of
cage.
kicks. Jason's kind of came up in a.
It was a weird.
Almost like a straightforward, but also it was
like angle.
45-degree angle.
It was so weird.
Yeah, I think it was going for a body kick, but Graves came
That
at
was
him. What was it, like a
controversial, this
front
kick.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as soon as the kick happened, I was like, hey, whoa, that's a groin kick. Someone needs to stop.
Because
and they
the
didn't.
shin landed on the groin,
Yeah,
but
I
the
mean,
foot landed on
the ribs.
on
And
the ribs, yeah.
Jason tweeted out again. I don't know if you saw it. An image last night during the show airing that it was a body shot and it was an image of his foot
foot
into the
landing on the
body.
ribs.
No, I actually liked.
Yes.
I liked the kick that he did. It definitely. I wasn't even. I mean, when I first saw it, I had them. I rewound it to watch it again. Is that his actual foot landing on his ribs was a really good kick. It was literally just because the fact that Graves' legs were
Graves'
open.
leg was up
'cause
for a front kick or something.
Something like it. It looked like a weird round kick thing that he was trying to do.
So that knocked Graves back, and
that
JJ
was
jumped on it.
so
And
scary.
was throwing. I have here a note
was.
about 1,000 rights and knees.
No,
Really?
Approximately.
It was a lot.
to Graves on the ground.
Yeah.
And it was really close several times to stopping. Graves was pretty much turtling up. Not quite field, but turtling up. It was a solid.
hilarious.
It was a fair defense.
No, it was just he started to worry me because he even put his hand up like that, and I was like, oh wow, this fight's just done. That's what I was thinking.
I think everyone was thinking that, and
Yeah.
that leads us into the controversy of why the ref didn't stop it at that time. Because a lot of people are saying like
He should have. I
that should have
think.
been stopped.
That should have been stopped.
What's your opinion, Jay?
I was expecting it to be stopped. I could see it being stopped. Graves was not advancing his position, which you have to do in order to stay in the game. And the referee did warn him, I think once, maybe twice even. But he was not. He was also not out by any means.
No.
That's what that turtling up was. He was kind of figuring out figuring out a time looking for an opening to escape, or to escape out of that really bad position.
Right.
Jason, let's see, the two other fouls, I believe, were Jason throwing a hammer fist to the
back of his head.
The back of.
Did anybody
Graves'
actually
head.
see that? I had a hard time looking.
Yeah, there were one or two that looked like it landed. I mean, it was really close. And that's when the referee grabbed Jason's hand and said, "All right, don't do that." That kind of stopped the action. But
he didn't stop.
And that was one of the things that Glenn Robinson later on would talk about and say that was that he shouldn't have interfered with the action, I think, or something like that. However, in that position, Graves didn't advance his position. He was still in the same position. It was a first warning, and then I believe, was there a fence grab as well by Jason's part?
Yes, but that was when finally Graves stood up.
Oh, when Graves got the takedown.
And he was being taken down, and he grabbed the cage as he was going down.
So Graves eventually did.
He did.
He did advance his position and get out of there, but not because of the referee stopping JJ's hand.
He just found an opening.
Right, found an opening, was able to get up and get a takedown, and Jason grabbed the fence, probably just instinctually.
And as soon as I saw him get up and he was about to take him down, that was also where my brain was, okay, this is the Graves that I wanted to see. And he definitely stepped it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to win this match.
Got his back and rear naked choke.
Yeah, and a lot of people said as soon as Graves gets on his back for any type of takedown, things done. And you could tell he had a really, at first I thought that JJ was going to get out of it because he was able to move. And at one point Graves wasn't even moving, and I was like, this is your opportunity, get back in there. And he switched arms, and I was like, there it is. And he got a really good grip. He was underneath the chin, and he tapped out instantly.
Why do you think the ref didn't call it? I mean, we've seen many fights where it's called much sooner. No,
but it's a different ref. It's I don't think that he necessarily did anything wrong there. Again, the grabbing JJ's arm and stopping him and warning him about the
no, he was just
about the hitting at the back of the head. Neither of the fighters changed their position or moved or anything. So and I think it was JJ continued to pound on Graves for a little bit after that. So it's not like that affected the match itself, right? The groin strike, I think, was unfortunate that the referee didn't see that. He must have been focusing on the foot landing on the ribs. That happens, but I mean, it's. I don't know what you do. I mean, they kept fighting anyway. Clearly, because Graves won, we look back and say, well, nothing needed to be done. Because if the referee had stopped, that would have been to Graves' advantage anyway. Right. But all of those fouls really were to Graves. The fact that they were ignored were to Graves' disadvantage, and he still came back and won.
Yeah,
crazy fight.
It was. I had my hands over my mouth like the majority of the fight. I was just like, no. And but I am proud of him because he did, even though it had a weird turning point. That I thought that this is the old Graves we're gonna see him. He's kind of doing that whole cowering kind of thing. But at the same time, when he finally figured out how to get out, I was like, oh, this is a totally different fighter from the first fight.
Are either of these fighters UFC material in your eyes?
I think JJ is.
I think JJ is also.
But not Graves.
I haven't seen enough of Graves to say anything because, I mean, the first fight, sadly enough, he didn't do so hot. And then this one, I am proud of him, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, that guy should be in the UFC.
Here's why. Well, again, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I really think that these... a lot of this beef and the stuff we see on Tough Talk is allowed to get wild, partially because it makes for good ratings, but also because the UFC, I think, they're in the catbird seat where the fighters have to prove themselves to the promotion. And this is their chance to prove themselves to the promotion. I wouldn't be surprised if there was Graves versus Jason Jackson sometime in the next,
That'd be nice.
sometime in the fall or so. Yeah. I think I still think that they should have kept. I still don't understand this booking, where you put a fight night on in Florida right before.
You're talking about the
Lyoto
Hollywood,
Machida.
Florida last weekend.
Yeah, Lyoto Machida versus Yoel Romero. Why they put that in Florida, and then move the Florida finale to Las Vegas. Makes no
Top
sense.
21.
That's weird.
Makes no sense to me whatsoever from a booking standpoint. And I would have kept it. I would have done it. What would they have?
I know you were telling me this before that you wanted the Tough 21 cast, those fighters, to be fighting in Florida.
Yeah.
Like it was originally scheduled.
Absolutely, because that's where the tickets are going to sell. People are not as many people are going to care in Las Vegas as much as they're going to care there, because these guys are still regional names. They're UFC fighters, maybe. They're at least Ultimate Fighter guys.
Yes.
And they've had national TV for 13 weeks now. That's great. But they're still guys that are connected regionally, more so to their friends and family regionally. And their name is going to mean more in that circuit as opposed to Las Vegas. They're not big enough to fight in Las Vegas, to be quite honest.
That's why
notwithstanding, at least they're not to main event it, you know?
No.
My argument to that, to his point there, is in terms of them moving to Vegas. International Fight Week, it doesn't get bigger than that in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's
coming
what
up
I was
next
gonna
week.
bring up.
Yeah, and the day after. I mean, they always have a tough finale, usually the day after a big fight night card, and Vegas has thousands and thousands and thousands of fans there for International Fight Week. So I feel like they're going to have a good crowd, regardless of not being in Florida. But I do get your point completely, especially the fact that they just had a Hollywood card in Florida.
Exactly, yeah.
They've only done this once. The ultimate of the back-to-back, with the big pay-per-view
Really?
for
Only
July
once?
4th. Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn. Now,
Right.
a good
I remember
reason
that.
for that, is because that show took place in Vegas. It was a regular Ultimate Fighter. It wasn't region-specific like this one is. So I don't get it. I'm sure.
But
there's
maybe
some
they
logical-
found it successful last year, so why not have the next
didn't.
tough?
I was there. No, everyone was burnt out. I mean, there was a good crowd there.
Yeah.
But I mean, the match didn't necessarily deliver. And on this one, we're not having coaches fight.
Yeah.
On that previous one, it was Frankie versus BJ fighting. Go ahead.
There must be reasons that we are not privy to.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I'm curious
for the
about.
move.
I believe that. I'm sure that that's probably what they wanted to do, but for some reason they couldn't necessarily, and I don't know why that necessarily would be. Maybe there was a date they couldn't. The venue that they wanted, they couldn't get the date.
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
That's something a lot of promoters unfortunately deal with.
Do
and
you
so
think
they had to do it
the
like
fighters
this.
being transferred from Florida to Vegas is not a good thing for them because they'll be not burnt out from the travel, but No, I mean that's just a lot of people tell me. Not like I mean mostly international fighters, but just fighters in general. That sometimes there's wear and tear.
They get there. The fighters that are fighting are getting there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
They're
they
gonna
have
have
plenty
a
of
few
time.
days to adjust to West Coast time and the dry heat
I
for
was
a few days.
just curious.
Yeah,
if that
It'll
would
be a
bigger
card that a
factor.
lot of people will, unfortunately, the casual fans will ignore and not worry about. And, if the matches prove to be super action-packed, which is certainly a possibility, then on the replays, people will go, oh, shit, you got to go back and watch that Tough 21 finale. That was the best card of the whole
maybe.
all 2015.
I just thought maybe
and I hope it is.
I just thought maybe they moved them to Vegas because they wanted a bigger venue. That's what I thought it was. And then maybe they sold out of tickets in Florida and they just wanted a bigger venue for more
Why
people.
would you do a bigger venue and then put in names that aren't going to move as many tickets?
But they're not doing a lot of the Tough 21 guys. They're only having a couple
Fair point,
fights
too.
versus the rest of the card.
Yeah, you've got what do you got? You got 7 matches listed now.
It's an Ellenberger,
Jake Ellenberger, and
the main event.
Yeah, and I forgot who his opponent is.
I did too.
But that's exactly my point.
Right.
This is not a show that, unfortunately, it's not a show that is going to be on people's radar because everyone's going to be hungover from not just, especially Mendez and McGregor, and that's news to talk about as well.
We will talk about that.
There is also there was an Invicta card, I believe, on Friday, possibly, or Thursday.
The NBA's there that weekend too.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's the summer league.
Jeez.
Okay.
And Miss USA. Not that matters in the pageants.
I mean,
But if you want to talk about where the fighters who are not fighting, they're going to be guaranteed.
yes, they will.
And on also a great amateur show, Tough Enough will be. I think they've got a show on that Friday, which
There's a lot going on.
I mean, it's a big Vegas weekend. I can't speak. I'm with you. I totally. I'm not against your thought on that, but I do think that it just makes sense because it's International Fight Week. Put it all together.
To do a show there,
Thousands of fans are going to be there.
I get it. I don't know.
We'll see, right?
Yeah, I don't know anything about bookings. I would like it. It's closer now.
Flip-flopped them. take the Yoel Romero card.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you can't do that either because there were all those problems with the visas in Brazil.
Oh dear.
That although, who knows? Maybe you could take all of that and put that in Vegas, and then you push off this thing until the week after. It may have been even dates. Come to think of it, like if this show is peaking the week of McGregor Aldo, right? We've got one more to go.
Yep, next week. That's it.
Usually the finale.
I can't believe it already.
Everyone's going to be hungover. I'm just thinking about this out loud. you do the last Ultimate Fighter, and guys, I mean hungover figuratively and literally. I mean,
Yeah,
you've done
I know.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday of
Fan
MMA
Expo, all day,
every
Saturday,
day.
Sunday, yeah.
You're burned out. Trust me on this. You're not going to want to sit down and watch another 5 hours of MMA. But
You might not.
Yeah,
there are some people that do.
no, even I'm that nerd.
Wait, what
Yeah,
are the,
you
what
are,
are, what
you
are the
are.
dates again?
The dates. So that's Wednesday.
It's Sunday, July 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, Sunday, July 12th.
Oh no, that's also Comic-Con weekend too. I mean, I'm not saying they're in the same venue. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things going on. Sorry,
And that guy.
my brain's just
So the
functioning.
cosplay folk won't be in Vegas.
Hey man, I'm just saying.
We are not a commercial for Vegas right now. With
swear.
everything that's going on.
There's stuff going on. I just want to be a part
But
of
the
the
week
team,
after
guys.
the big one, if you did this on the 12th, the 19th, no, you've got that Bisping match in.
Is that also?
Where's that? The Bisping match in Scotland.
Jeez. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on next weekend. It's gonna be crazy.
Hey, I'm all for it. I think it's gonna be good. I think the fights that actually go on, I'm interested in because we've been covering them all season and to see how these guys do.
We don't know them yet, though.
We kind of do.
Do we?
Kind of.
do. Do we?
Well,
we
maybe-
definitely
maybe
know
just
one
Kinda
match.
do?
Just Suri.
We kind of look at me. It's not,
I don't know.
Yes,
any match.
you do.
I don't even know the main event, guys. It's Jake Ellenberger versus Joe Boza. Help me out.
gonna
here.
say, Joe
I'm just
Boza,
gonna be
help
like,
us out.
crack. All right, here you go. Go for it.
That's hilarious. We kind of know who one match is, which will be fun to watch. You guys we are going downhill fast here.
I'm sorry.
Just duct tape my mouth here.
One of these days I'm gonna do that on
Any
air.
final thoughts on this week's fight before we move on to? We're missing Mr. Michael Graves. I don't know where he is, but
He's off probably training somewhere.
probably.
I hope you're not drinking, bro.
No, I think he's.
You got to be in training here, man.
I think
Come on now.
he's probably training. He probably just can't. He's probably just busy. But no, I'm very proud of him. Of how well he did.
Turning things around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, technically, it could have gone completely south if he didn't just. If he was in a totally different mindset.
If that happens, what would we be doing? And if
That would be it.
Brazilians won this week and won the whole thing, what are we going to be talking about next week? You know?
I don't know.
This.
yeah.
Twiddling my thumbs for all of you.
Well,
on my show.
like,
look,
iTunes
it's a
doesn't
reality
know what
show.
you're
They
doing.
would come up with
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, they
True.
would probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
my brain was thinking if let's say Black Zillions won, hypothetically they won this episode. I feel like we probably would have had like small matches.
Small
They would have done
Like
something.
They would have like maybe
they would
had
have
like
had
some
maybe
rematches of some sort, or maybe
Another
even
owner's
had
challenge.
another owner's challenge.
so
I still want to see another one. That would be fun.
I know.
3 minutes of jujitsu.
No.
3 minutes
Oh
of
my
sparring.
God.
No, it's
of
got
Thai
to be other
boxing.
stuff.
It's gotta
Because
be-
Dan's gonna kill him.
Yeah, but then after
He
that,
will.
or before that, you give Glenn 3 minutes of Thai boxing with Dan.
Oh my word!
Let's see.
yeah.
I mean, if he's got hands and feet, let's see him
I'm
do
too
it.
scared that someone's gonna get really, really hurt if they
That
put
would
them in
be
a ring.
so fun. I want to see it. I'm that guy.
If you had to, let me ask you this: if you had to do a team-to-team challenge, like Black Zillions versus American Top Team, fun like team challenge, what would you have them do? What would be fun to watch them do?
I've got the winner for the dumbest idea possible.
Yes.
Which is human chess. Wait, sorry, no. We're talking human chess is supposed to be MMA. Granted, I grant you that. No,
my
I'm talking about
word.
the big boards,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You guys just stand there. Granted, you'll need more fighter because chess pieces.
You have to have brain power
Well, it's coach
for
versus
chess.
coach.
See, I'm a terrible.
Okay, the coach is moving.
Yeah, no. The coaches are calling out, and
no.
the pawns are a bunch of amateur fighters. Each team got their
And they're
amateur
all
guys.
dressed in king and queen and all the
They have to
outfits and
wear
everything.
the little chess pieces on their head.
Yeah, they have
See?
to dress as dorky empty chess pieces, and then you've got the whole team there. What, 8 guys? Is that enough? I think that might be enough chess pieces for the back row.
Is it?
No.
Might or might not. Maybe it's 10.
You need more than that.
Okay, so you throw in a couple other. You throw in you bring back Creepy Steve. Creepy Steve comes back. All he's got to do is stand there. You know?
I would, in my brain, I would have them do an American Gladiator,
Ninja Warrior.
American Ninja Warrior thing with all of them, and they have to.
Gosh, you know what?
And if they have to win money.
You know what would be funny about that is a lot of those guys would never make it through a course like that.
No, they would not. And I can
say that because I'm a gymnast, and
it's hard.
You need to. That's why gymnasts do so well.
Yeah.
And, my friend Jonathan Horton, who's an Olympic gymnast, did it this season, and he killed it. Well, just saying. Stop. It's current. But yeah, those guys, it would actually be really entertaining to have them do that because they'd be all dropping in the water.
Nice.
I want to see Dana White do it.
No, not a chance.
What?
Not a chance.
Now you're just being silly.
You cannot be
chess. Shut up. I think it'd be really funny.
It's funny that we bring up American Gladiators because I did see online
Ninja Warriors.
Excuse me.
I said both. It's okay.
Right. But Felice Herrig, UFC strawweight, recently did compete.
I didn't get to see it, but I saw that she was doing it.
Yeah, there was footage of her run.
Did she do well?
She skipped to about 3 of the first stage, 3 of those planks
the very,
over the water,
very beginning.
and then
she fell in the first section.
Which is exactly your point. Yeah.
That's my point. Like, here's an athlete.
Man.
You have to have that.
There's a certain agility and body movement.
Yes, that gymnast we learn at a very young age.
That's so crazy.
Which makes you a good athlete in a lot of different sports.
Right.
Not necessarily the best. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But we can play and do other things.
There's something, and that's kind of the same way that a lot of football players. Correct me if I'm wrong or not.
Yep.
Football players and actually MMA fighters, I've heard, will do dancing and ballet because
that's what I was going to ask.
Right? It gets you more in touch with body movement and shifting weight.
Yeah.
So I just ran into an NFL player today.
All right.
He saw me at the gym working out, and I was doing gymnastics-based type stuff, which was a little bit crazy for the regular gym. And he goes, "Were you a gymnast or a dancer?" And then that started a conversation. He said when he was young, his parents put him in gymnastics to learn that balance and coordination and things that you cannot learn in other sports.
Yeah.
So yes, and many football coaches have been known to put their football players in do gymnastics conditioning and training and a little bit of dance because it does give you all those abilities.
So that was my question thinking about that because my cousin is a gymnast. She's been a gymnast since she was like 3 or something like that, and she's just awesome. But she's scared to fight, but we told her like you would probably be a really good fighter because of your just everything about you. So I was talking to my dad and a couple other not coaches but people who train other people to be fighters. Like, do you think it's a good idea to for your students or whoever to learn gymnastics and then get into like Suri's face? If you could watch this video right now, her eyebrows are just moving around like
totally yes.
Okay, that's what I want your brain.
1,000%. I can't tell you how many fighters have said to me, "You would make a great fighter." Not that I would ever fight. God, I would die. But in terms of just abilities, you know what I mean, jumping and kicking and flexibility and you know what I mean, all of that. 1,000% put people in gymnastics. There's a reason why George St. Pierre would do gymnastics training.
That makes sense.
A lot part of his camp. All the time. I mean, it works muscles and things that don't get worked anywhere else.
Wasn't there a fighter today in the episode that was doing like flips and backflips and stuff like that?
There what? I did see that. Somebody did tumble.
Who was that?
I can't remember.
I was going to ask you, did they do well?
Didn't they do a back tack?
Yeah, that's what I was asking you. I was like, was it him?
Who was it?
Soldado?
Was it Soldado that did
Oh, they did it, and I didn't recognize. I saw them do it. It was like a cartwheel back tuck or something. I was like, that was decent.
Okay, yeah, because I wouldn't know.
It was just one of those like blip things across the screen.
They were trying to figure out who they wanted them to fight. That guy who was sitting by the computer. They were asking, "Oh, do you want Graves?"
Were talking about Soldado, yeah.
Okay, that's who I was wondering. I was like, "Ooh, that was really good. Ooh, I wonder if Suri's gonna like say like, oh, your form's terrible."
No.
Get better with your landing.
Probably
I don't know.
was.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't get serious like that because I know they're not trying to be serious, but it was pretty good.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I just wanted to pick your brain about that because I don't know anything about gymnastics. So I'm like, I can't even do a cartwheel or a front roll.
Oh no,
I'm terrible at it. 'Cause
Really?
when I was a kid, I tried to do a front roll and I crashed into another kid, and I was just
You were
afraid.
traumatized by doing a forward roll.
Pretty much. Yep. I'm that person who was like, no, I'm never gonna do it again.
How about you, Jay? Can you forward roll?
Believe it or not, I'm actually pretty agile. And,
I love it.
I'm like the Glenn Robinson of flexibility and stuff. I can hit a sumo
awesome.
stretch, head down, like the legs out, head down.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You don't even know right
Can you
now.
do a handstand?
I have done a handstand. What did I used to do?
The only time I can do a handstand's in the pool.
In my pro wrestling days, you'd be surprised. I actually had some flexibility, and I had a somersault splash. Dropped the guy on the ground like a body slam, bound off the rope. Cartwheel. It was a cartwheel splash. Cartwheel over him.
Is that an actual thing?
You cartwheeled over him?
Yeah.
I want to see this
That was
cartwheel.
easy.
I need to
Cartwheel.
see this cartwheel.
So
after the show.
so you need to do that then, right? Like you can replay
enough.
that. Just don't.
Hey, guys, this is AfterBuzz. We are certainly pro wrestling friendly. I think probably everybody on staff is a wrestling fan. We got a ring in the backyard. We'll do it.
We got a thumbs up from our producer back there. Was that?
Was that for
Steven.
Jay? Or
I'll do it on him.
I love pro wrestling.
I should start a fighter gymnastics class. I could
Actually,
teach
you
these
should.
fighters.
You would probably.
I could condition them and train them in gymnastics, and
Yeah.
give them that edge.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive,
How about that?
guys. Suri
Boom.
is going
A new
to do
side
that.
business.
That's gonna be crazy.
I would be an ass kicker.
We just turned this into
Oh my God,
Shark
that's so
Tank.
awesome.
Sold.
Sold. You have it
I'll
here.
invest in that.
Take all the money.
You would? You think I'd be good?
I think it'd be
so.
great. I think it's
so
a great
too.
idea. Oh my gosh.
We'll see. We'll see.
And your first client or student will be Michael Graves, now on the line, coming to us from
I was gonna say,
somewhere in Florida.
Somewhere in Florida. Is Michael on the line?
Just
I'll do
kidding.
it.
No, we don't have him. We didn't have him. We missed you, Michael. I don't know what happened, but hopefully everything is okay and you're okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're about to wrap up, but your thoughts on the big fight? I mean, Mendez coming in
man.
for Jose
Yeah, we
Aldo.
haven't even talked about the news or anything, huh? Big
No,
news.
Yeah,
but that's a big one. We can
talk about
We
it.
can chat for a second about
Jose
that.
Aldo out, Chad Mendez in. There was touch and go for the past week about Aldo.
Yep.
There was reports last week came out about a bruised rib.
He did
of course.
release the
Yeah.
X-rays.
Bruised rib, and there was,
Correct.
it was touch and go whether he'd be able to stay or not.
Because that's tough.
He released an MRI, which looked like, it was beyond a bruised rib. There was a
yeah.
definite break there.
Yeah.
And he did confirm that he had to pull out, Chad Mendez, who has fought Aldo twice and probably had 2014's Fight of the Year.
Yep, he was the number
against
one.
him.
Is
he's
what Dana said.
number-
Dana said he's the number one contender.
Well, now that Dana says it, he was number 2 in the
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah.
Frankie Edgar was, I believe, is actually ranked number 1, but for whatever reason they went with Mendez.
So what do you think?
I was studying Mendez a little bit more last night, watching some old matches. I think that this may be a better match for McGregor.
I think so too.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I say unfortunately because I really want to see him get tested. Mendez probably has the wrestling. If it's on the ground, Mendez probably has the wrestling to hold down McGregor.
Really?
Yeah, but McGregor. Well, but I mean, just by credentials,
No,
he certainly
okay,
does.
yeah, you're
D1
right.
wrestler.
Yeah.
Versus a guy that comes from a country that doesn't have wrestling at all. I
That's
don't
very
think.
true. Yeah.
However, McGregor has the striking. He's got the reach.
Yep.
That if he can keep it on the feet and prevent Mendez from getting in and taking him down, then Mendez is going to have a tough night. If you go back and watch Mendez versus Aldo from, I believe, November last year, it was mostly on the feet. Mendez couldn't get in to take him down, and if there were any, Aldo got up on top pretty fast. And the match, it was a fantastic match, great action, but Aldo walked away with it. I think with all 5 rounds, I believe. So I think this is going to be it's a tough challenge on paper for Mendez, but anything can happen.
I would like to just see if he can really step up his game, but I'm not trying to be biased. I have also done my research about him, and I feel like he has a little bit more of an advantage to a
Who
point.
does?
Mendez. Okay. But I still think McGregor's going to take the cake.
You do.
What do you think is the advantage? The wrestling?
Yeah, but also I just feel like McGregor's his striking game is just so on point that I feel like he's just gonna blow out the water.
You think that McGregor's
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I should have been more.
I thought you were saying that.
There's too many M's,
Mendes.
guys.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, there's so many ways to argue this because there's great points everywhere. McGregor's so mentally tough and like so ready. I would not want to be whoever it is facing him.
Don't ever underestimate the mental capacity of a wrestler.
Yeah.
Those are some of the toughest dudes on the planet, especially the guys that go to the level that Mendes did.
Yeah.
But you're talking about 2 weeks notice versus 2 months.
Don't you think he's been training?
Yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Because you know that anything can happen in camp.
No, it's very true.
If you're number 1, number 2, you got to be ready to go.
You have to stay ready if you're at that higher echelon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Who knows?
Yeah,
we're going to see either way.
That can literally go in any direction, I feel, and that's why I think it's going to be a really freaking good fight.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I think McGregor probably gets it done.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm
2 or 3.
Pretty.
I think so too.
Really?
Although it'd be kind of shocking to have McGregor lose after all of this build-up. You know, after all this money and all this hype, and and the twists and turns, it would be.
I can't see it though, but it would kind of suck if he did. But I don't know. I think that he's just gonna. I don't think he's gonna blow it out of the water. I just think that I'm really confident that he's going to just put up a really good show.
Yeah.
So.
I'm on board. I'm on board. So wrapping up our episode 11 here of Tough 21, it is now tied. 300-300 going into the final week. You guys call that. I didn't call that, actually. I didn't think it was going to be even, the way it was going and being produced. But
is it weird that I would have probably preferred it not to be even, just to see what they come up with? I don't know why.
I thought that's what was going to happen, but I was wrong.
This one's on you, producers.
I know.
your move, guys.
Your
just
move.
kidding.
I love it.
But, yeah.
It's going to be interesting who they put up next week and how it turns out, right? And who gets the 200,000 or 300,000?
200,000.
Yeah, for next week.
300,000 for the
finale.
So predictions of who they're picking for the fight. Just off the top of your noggin.
I cannot. We got the music too.
Today.
You're AFTERBUZZ TV.
Jay?
Yeah, you should go first.
Guys, there was a rule change for reasons that haven't produced anything yet. So you had Cristiano Soldado and Alexander Pulga coming in as replacements. They were allowed.
You think the new guys are gonna fight?
Yeah, how do you not? Like, why would you not? Because
I don't think so.
I'm not with you.
Let's put it like this. Why would you bring them in
If they're not gonna fight?
they weren't going to fight? Yeah, and plus, on top of that, theoretically, they're the freshest ones. You would think that they've been training. They haven't had to fight.
Doesn't mean they're the best. Doesn't mean they're the
It has
strongest.
nothing to do with the best. It has to do with who's the freshest that can win that last one.
I don't know.
And this is the one where the team has got to win, so they've got to put in somebody that is most qualified to get that win above anybody else. And if everybody else has already fought, except for this guy or this guy, on each respective side, have them fight. Otherwise, what's the point of having them on?
Alexis, what do you think?
I don't think, as much as I would like to see a new fighter, just to throw on, again, sorry, using for weird, like, food terms, fresh meat up there, I just feel that they're not going to do it. Again, with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality that Dan has. You know what I mean?
Dan's mentality has been, their process has been broke for a long time.
I know, but I feel like he doesn't see that, though. You know what I mean? I don't know. Do you have a specific fighter that you think is going to?
I think that they should do Cristiano Soldado versus Alexander Pulga.
Okay.
Just throw it in there.
All right.
I think it's so weird to me. I think it'll be either Coy or Hyder for I'm about to say American top team, and then
That's a good
or
choice.
Kamaru for Black Stallions.
You think Kamaru is going to go back in?
Yeah.
3 times in 6 weeks.
I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. I'm
don't
just
wanna be
saying.
Interesting.
I'm
All
just
right.
saying.
Well, we're going to find out next week. Yes, we will. Before we give out our social medias and where you can find us, you can find this episode and us, of course, at AfterBuzzTV.com. We are on YouTube. We're on iTunes. We're on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
If you leave us comments, we will get back to you. Thank you for watching. Alexis Torres, where can everybody find you?
You can find me all over the social media websites as atorres890. Also follow me on my vlogs now that I do every week, and also blackhollywoodlive.com for Geek Nerd Tech if you like to see my face and talk about video games.
Love it. Jay.
JTAN716, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But more importantly, Tough Daria. TOUGHDARIA.
Daria.
She loves questions. Guys, ask her questions. Just bomb her with it. Hit it.
Bomb it.
And watch her every Tuesday on Tough Enough USA Network.
And I am at Suri Serano on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope as well. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of The Ultimate Fighter, Season 21, Episode 11. We will see you for our final week next week.
Adios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.